Jackson and Reverend Lee for their leadership in calling us together today. I want to thank Dr. Kimber for his words of introduction. I'm happy to see my dear friend, Reverend Stallworth, representative. And to all of you, I bring you greetings on behalf of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton, our members of our board. Reverend Kimber's a member of the board. And I want you to know that we understand the difficulties that we as a people are always navigating through. And sometimes in the process of the struggle, there are miscues. In the process of the struggles, there are sometimes misunderstandings. In the process of the struggles, we sometimes find ourselves on different poles from each other, even though our intentions are the same. So there must be room for us to make mistakes. There must be room for us to have disagreement. There must be room for us to rise out of whatever milieu that confuses the agenda and achieve that which is important to all of us. I'm glad to be here today in the midst of what is one of the most historic moments in the history of this country. The combination of the pandemic, the health pandemic, and the justice pandemic that is impacting and affecting us as a people. But we must take this difficulty and turn it into an opportunity. I am aware that many of our people are making adjustments, and I'm aware that much of America the American population has made some bow toward justice in this moment. A large segment of American population of all colors have aligned themselves with the racial injustice that has been unearthed by the litany and procession of George Floyd and a host of others who have lost their lives to the representatives of the state in the police department. Unfortunately, historically, we usually get excited about these things, and then after the fatigue of the moment has worn us out, we retreat and we go back to saying things as usual. Unfortunately, we have had a long history of protest. Protest has become a part of the culture of African Americans in this country. That's right. We're tired of protesting. That's right. We're tired of having to speak out for our rights. We're tired of having to call for change. And when we rise into a crescendo, everybody gets concerned, and then
you see that, young brother? Yeah, let me see that.
Go back doing the same things all over. For 400 years, we've been protesting. We protested when that first black man jumped off the boat in Virginia. We protested. We protested on the shores of Virginia. We protested throughout the South. We've been protesting for a long time. And we're tired. We're tired of protesting. Some people think that this America is theirs, that somehow we are infringing upon America as black people. But I need to tell us and remind us that we are not interlopers. We are co-founders of America. Black people are co-founders. We were the first to die in the Revolutionary War, the Christmas Addicts. We fought in the Civil War for emancipation that was denied to us. We fought in World War I and II for the rights of citizens in other countries, for rights that we do not have in this country. We fought in the Korean conflict, in Vietnam, in Persian Gulf, in Afghanistan. We have been continuously a part of making America great. We built the Capitol. We built the White House. Our labor built the state houses across the length and breadth of America. We are not in trade invaders. We are co-founders of this country. And we have been victimized by vicious stereotypes. After they have worked us for free, after they have killed us and lynched us, they then perpetuated stereotypes of us being lazy, inferior, and ignorant, when in fact they were responsible for the condition of African American people in this country. It is a despicable disgrace that this country could have in its sacred documents, like the Declaration of Independence, a mockery. It is a mockery that we would have the sacred document of the Declaration of Independence declaring that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and justice. And at the same time, we as a country victimize black people, victimize people. Racism finds its ugly head stirring in our communities. It is a despicable hypocrisy that is on display for the whole world to see. The world ought to stand up and say, America is hypocritical. America talks justice and inclusion on one side and exercises exclusion and racism on the other side. America is a hypocrisy. America is a disgrace to the constitutional documents that we declare. America is schizophrenic. America has lost its way. America is held in accountability. Truth is, to correct this situation,
I like that.
It's going to require that we, our country, invest in African Americans. 400 years of slavery, racism, discrimination, and systemic exclusion has marginalized us and damaged us. Black people are damaged, and we are in need of repair. We are damaged, and you want to blame the victims for the damage. We did not damage ourselves. We were not damaged in our creation. We were not flawed rejections of God's amazing grace. We are victims of a cruel and vicious system in this country. And do not think that we are inferior people. We are people equal to everybody else. Do not think for a moment that we are not a part of God's creation. We are not a mistake. We are not a coincidence. We're the result of God's intentionality. God intended us. God did not make a mistake to make me black. It was God's intention. From the kink in my hair to the thickness of my lips to the swaying of my hips, all of it is an intentionality of God's grace in my life. God intentioned me. I am not superior. I am somebody. And my life does matter. When America fixes black lives, then all lives will be better. When America makes black lives matter, then everybody, when there's a house on fire on the block and the house is burning down, you don't call the fire department and say, there's a fire and all the houses matter. No, you send the firehouse to the house that's on the block that's on fire. Black people in America on the block It's a challenge of community. Robert,
that's what this is. It's a sham. Black lives don't matter to them.
Wow.
Can I see your sign?
Community.
No justice.
He said that there are 5 types classifications of community. 5 things that bring us together as community. People are brought together by their common interests. They're brought together by their common place, their biography, of their geography, where they live. They're brought together by common practice, professional or common interests. They're brought together because of circumstances, having same experiences. And these multiple communities exist, offering for us alternatives to respond collectively, but at the same time, we find ourselves in America where communities are clashing. The central problem in America is fundamentally that there's one community that wants to keep everything they can for themselves and does not want to dispatch freedom and equality. And then there's the other community that's fighting for freedom and equality. And we are clashing because the status quo keepers don't want to let go of the riches that they have received. They won't that. We built the train tracks and couldn't ride on the train. We gave ourselves to this country. We invested. And the truth is that every measure of quality of life, we're at the bottom. Every measure, not some. I wish I could get you to hear me. That every measure of quality of life of black people in America, we are at the bottom. Whether you're talking about health or diabetes or AIDS or obesity or heart trouble or infant mortality, whatever you talk about, we are at the bottom. If you talk about education, our schools are the poorest. If you talk about housing, our housing. If you talk about jobs, the gap between black male and white male wages is the same as it was 50 years ago. The gap has not closed in. We're at the bottom economically. We're at the bottom educationally. We're at the bottom by every measurement. And it is not because we are inferior. It is because the system has been designed to keep us and make us held down and docile. We must change the system. We must challenge the system. And I admonish us today to not become satisfied. Not become satisfied with the way things are. Not go back and rest. There's an awakening in America. Blacks and whites and Latinos, black and brown people are awakening to the damage of racism in our country. But the problem is that we got to stay woke. A lot of us here today, we're going to raise Cain, we're going to have signs, we're going to march. But what are we going to do systemically? How are we going to challenge the people who take our money?
Right.
How are we going to use our money to our own advantage?
Right.
Are we going to go out and vote in November? How many of us stayed home last election, presidential election, for some frivolous reason? And you see what we have. You see what has happened to this country. You must take ownership for it if you did not vote. You're responsible for what is going on in America today if you did not vote. And I hope that you will not let that happen this coming November, that you will be counted and included in the election process.
Oh, yeah.
The devil has been set free in America. And we are the victims of it. And we must change the direction of this country. We cannot afford to get tired. We cannot afford, I'm tired of fighting. Don't say that. Don't say that. We don't have time to say we're tired. We got to fight until the end. We got to give our best effort. While I have rendered a litany of what's wrong, I need to talk to us as black people for a minute. I need us to not be indicted by the outline of control as illustrated in the fictional characterization of Willie Lynch. We must not allow division to separate us. That's exactly what the enemy wants. The enemy wants us to internalize inferiority. He wants us to be divided so we can turn on each other. Turn the high class over the low class. The gender differences. Color differences. Those who've been to college and those who have not been to college. They want us to divide so we are weak. But when we are together, we are strong. When we are divided, we are family. We must be together. I want to say to my young brothers and sisters, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your voice. I'm proud of what you are doing. I'm glad you're awake. But I want to admonish you to know that this struggle did not begin in 2020. We might have been in slavery and the consequences of slavery for over 400 years, but we've been fighting every step of the way. We've been fighting. Black people have been fighting. We ain't just started fighting. And this is not the end of the fight. We're going to have to fight another 100 years before we get it right. So do not think that this is the only fight. You have inherited a legacy of revolt. You've inherited a legacy of people who will not be satisfied. Our mothers and fathers are in the cemetery who set this day. We made incremental changes. We made step by step. As a matter of fact, our forefathers made it possible that we could stand on these steps. Because there was a time when that would never happen. But they fought and gave their lives. So I admonish our young people to continue the legacy. To own what you have received. It is a treasure. You have received a sacred treasure from our forefathers and mothers, and it must be continued. We must move together. We must unify. We must lock arms. And we must challenge anybody, either within or without, who seeks to divide us and splinter us. We need each other. We cannot make it alone. I need you, you need me. We need those who are sensitive, who are white, who are sensitive to our struggle. One of the great agonies of this time is that our white brothers and sisters have kept silent too long. Our suffering would not be what it is if our white brothers and sisters had stood up and spoke and said something. I'm glad to see them standing now. But it's time for something to be said. You can better sometimes speak for the oppressed if you speak for the non-oppressed community. You get attention. Your voice can have a difference when you speak to your fathers and the captains of corporations. Challenge for us is to be together, to not grow weary, to not be dissolute. Martin King said in the final book that he wrote, where do we go from here? Where? Chaos or community? Yes, sir. Will we unite, be drawn into unity by common aspirations, or will we fragilely eliminate it because we dissolve into chaos? My challenge to us is to get together. Yes, sir. To meet the hour, aware of what we've been through, to not be discouraged by what we have endured, but at the same time understand that our future is full of promise. And we must not let anybody turn us around. We must not grow weary in well-doing, but run, 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 run. Fight, 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 fight. Teach our children how to fight. So that the struggle of equality, so that America can fulfill its creed. Martin King said it best. Ralph Waldo Emerson said in 1871, if you can build a better mousetrap than your neighbor, even if you build your house in the woods, the world will make a big path to your door. And this becomes increasingly true. We must not set out to be a great Negro doctor, a great Negro barber, or a great Negro skilled laborer. If we do, we've already felt the matriculation examination into the University of Integration. If it falls your lot to sweep streets, go out and sweep streets. Sweep streets like Michelangelo carved marble. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets so well that the whole host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived the great street sweeper who swept his job well. If it can't be a pine on the top of the hill, be a something about it. If it can't be a main road, be a path. If it can't be the sun, be a star. But in my size, that you win or you fail. But be the best of whatever you are. Get together, children. Not to your weary. That's a great camp meeting on the other side.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for that inspirational message that he gave. I think he touched on all of the points: systemic racism, police brutality. He spoke about the black community, and I think that he just hit the nail on the head.
Sure.
Impeccable job. Won't you all give him another?
Oh yeah.
For such a wonderful, wonderful job. We have one young man that's coming, and then we're going to have the Brothers United from Bridgeport that's going to come after that. Young Smitty, Young Smitty, Young Smitty. Won't you make some noise for Young Smitty?
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, Black Lives Matter. You can say Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But to the police, how much do Black lives really matter? To me, to them, it seems like they don't care that Black lives matter, because there's no need for a knee to be on someone's neck for 7 minutes while he's screaming, "I can't breathe."
Ready?
Let's go.
Oh, Young Smitty, Young Smitty.